the recording that destroyed Barron Trump's political future. Picture this. Georgetown University's debate hall, packed with students and cameras rolling live on C-SPAN. An 18-year-old Barron Trump, all 6 feet 8 inches of him, sits confidently across from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, ready to make his grand entrance into American politics. What nobody knew was that in just minutes, a single phone recorder would completely obliterate his political future and create the most viral political moment of the decade, the rising giant. Barron Trump wasn't your typical freshman. While his siblings jumped straight into business, Barron chose Georgetown University to study political science and constitutional law. Standing nearly 6 feet 8 inches, he didn't just tower over his classmates physically. He dominated them intellectually, too. His professors called him frighteningly intelligent. Students nicknamed him the Giant, not just for his height, but for how he crushed every political debate. In his freshman year, he'd never lost a single argument. The Young Republicans Club had grown by 300% since his enrollment, and political insiders were already whispering about his future candidacy. Tonight's debate was supposed to be his coming-out party, his moment to show America that the Trump dynasty had found its brilliant new voice. The opponent, across from him sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, representing Texas's 30th District, a former civil rights attorney who'd built her reputation as one of Congress's most fearless voices. She was known for her viral committee hearings and razor-sharp questioning that cut through political nonsense like a knife. But what nobody in that room knew was that Crockett had been quietly investigating something for months. Something that would soon rock the political world. The trap is set. The debate topic seemed innocent enough. Engaging Generation Z in American politics. Dr. Sarah Martinez moderated while 200 students, faculty, and media watched. The atmosphere crackled with electricity. This was Barron Trump's first public political discourse as an adult, and Crockett's first time facing off against the Trump family. Crockett spoke first, discussing voter registration, civic education, and authentic representation. Professional, measured, well-received. Then Barron stood up. "Thank you, Dr. Martinez," he began, his voice carrying the confidence of someone born into power. Congresswoman Crockett raises interesting points, but I have to question whether she's the right person to guide America's youth. The room went quiet. This wasn't the respectful academic discourse they'd expected. Barron pressed on, his tone calm but his words cutting deep. Congresswoman Crockett represents everything wrong with modern politics. She's more focused on viral moments than actual governance. Her committee performances are theater, not substance. Students started pulling out phones, sensing something big was about to happen. The attack. But Barron wasn't done. Furthermore, her voting record shows partisan extremism that alienates modern Americans. How can someone so divisive claim to represent unity? Crockett raised an eyebrow but remained composed. "Mr. Trump, perhaps before questioning my fitness for office, you should examine your own family's political contributions." The room tensed. This was getting personal. "My family's record speaks for itself. Congresswoman, we've actually accomplished things in office, not just performed for cameras." "Accomplished things?" Crockett's voice rose slightly. "Like January 6th? Like attempting to overturn a legitimate election? Like the multiple indictments?" That's when Barron crossed a line that changed everything. Standing to his full 6 feet 8 inches height, towering over everyone, Barron's voice took on a tone that reminded everyone exactly whose son he was. "Congresswoman Crockett, let me be very clear. Your grandstanding might play well on Twitter, but you are fundamentally unfit to hold office. Your radical agenda, your inflammatory rhetoric, your complete disregard for constitutional principles, all of it makes you a danger to our democracy." The word unfit hung in the air like a thunderclap. Students gasped. The moderator looked stunned. The bomb drops. Crockett sat quietly for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she reached for her phone. "Mr. Trump," she said, her voice now deadly calm, "before we continue this conversation about who's unfit for what, I think this audience needs to hear something." She held up her phone, finger hovering over the play button. This is a recording from 3 weeks ago, very relevant to our discussion about fitness for political engagement. Barron's confident expression flickered for the first time. What are you doing? I'm about to play a recording that shows exactly what kind of political engagement you've been participating in behind closed doors. She pressed play. The voice of truth. The audio quality was crystal clear. Everyone recognized Barron's distinctive voice immediately. Look, I don't actually believe half the stuff I say in these debates. It's all about positioning for the future. These Georgetown kids eat up the constitutional law stuff, but it's just theater. Dad taught me. You say whatever gets you power, then you do whatever you want with it. The room was dead silent. The recording continued. Honestly, I think Dad went too far with a lot of stuff. The election fraud claims January 6th, that was a disaster. But I can't say that publicly. The base would destroy me. So I play the part, build my brand, and eventually pivot when the time is right. You could hear people's shocked breathing. And these people I debate with, like this Crockett woman, she's actually pretty smart. Her positions aren't that radical if you examine them. But calling her unfit plays well with our crowd. It's all about optics. An unknown voice asked, "So you don't believe what you're saying about her?" Of course not. She's probably more qualified than half the Republicans in Congress. But admitting that doesn't help my political future. Politics isn't about truth. It's about narrative. And the Trump narrative requires enemies. The final blow. The funny thing is, I agree with Crockett on climate change, criminal justice reform, even some economic policies. But I'll call her a radical extremist because that's what my audience wants to hear. You tell people what they want to hear, not what's true. The collapse. The recording ended. Deafening silence. For the first time since entering Georgetown, Barron Trump looked genuinely rattled. His face had gone pale. His confident posture crumbled. All 6 feet 8 inches of him looked like a child caught in a lie. That recording, he stammered, his debate persona completely shattered, is from a conversation you had 3 weeks ago with a Georgetown journalism student. Crockett finished calmly. A student working on a profile piece who felt the public had a right to know who you really are. Crockett stood up, and suddenly the height difference didn't matter anymore. Her presence filled the room. "Mr. Trump, you just called me unfit for office. You question my qualifications, my integrity. But this recording shows you don't even believe your own attacks. You admit I'm qualified. You admit you agree with my positions. You admit calling me dangerous is just theater." The audience was riveted. So let me ask you, who's really unfit here? The congresswoman fighting for her constituents and speaking her truth? Or the young man who admits to lying about his positions, manipulating his audience, and building his entire political persona on deception? Barron tried to respond, but no words came. The final blow. You talk about constitutional principles, but the foundation of our democracy is honest discourse. It's representatives who believe in what they're fighting for, not leaders who see politics as theater and voters as marks to be conned. She looked directly into the C-SPAN cameras. This is exactly what's wrong with American politics. Young people entering the arena who see public service as performance art, who think leadership is about saying whatever gets you power. Turning back to Barron. You want to talk about unfitness? Let's talk about a political candidate who admits to lying to voters, who builds their brand on manufactured outrage, and who sees democracy as a game rather than a trust to be honored. The room erupted in sustained applause. Barron Trump, for the first time in his 18 years, had been completely and utterly defeated. The aftermath, within hours, #BarronExposed was trending worldwide. The clip of Barron's face as his own words destroyed him was shared over 100,000 times in the first hour. Conservative Twitter was in chaos. Barron Trump 2044 just lost all credibility. How can you build a movement on lies? Liberal Twitter celebrated. Jasmine Crockett just delivered the most devastating political exposure I've ever seen. By morning, every major network was covering the story. Georgetown's Young Republicans Club lost 60% of its membership within a week. Students felt betrayed. Professors questioned his academic integrity. Barron released a carefully crafted statement about the recording being taken out of context, but the damage was done. Even his father's response was notably muted. Just a brief tweet about fake news attacking his family. The transformation. 6 months later, Barron had effectively disappeared from political discourse. His planned course on conservative philosophy was canceled due to lack of enrollment. The confident young man destined for political stardom had been replaced by someone genuinely reconsidering his entire approach to public life. Meanwhile, Crockett's star soared. Her donations increased 400%. Her social media following grew by 200,000, and Democratic leadership began talking about her national potential. The lesson, 2 years later, in a rare interview, Barron reflected, it was a wake-up call about the difference between politics as performance and politics as service. If you're going to enter public life, you better make sure your private beliefs align with your public positions. Because eventually, the truth comes out. Whether this represented genuine growth or another calculated position remained to be seen. But for Jasmine Crockett, the victory was complete. She had exposed political cynicism, defended her integrity, and provided a masterclass in handling political bullies. The recording that changed everything had done more than destroy one young man's ambitions. It reminded America what authentic political leadership looks like. In an era of political theater, this moment of genuine accountability showed us what democracy is supposed to look like. Leaders who actually believe in what they're fighting for, and voters smart enough to demand nothing less.